Hello, and welcome to the pie making channel. Today we will learn how to make a pie crust from scratch using butter.
The first thing that you'll have to do is figure out if you're making a single crust pie or a double crust pie. A single crust pie is a pie that's uncovered on the top, but it has a crust on the bottom. This would be like a pumpkin pie or a sweet potato pie. The double crust pie is a pie that has a crust on both the top and the bottom. This would be like your typical apple pie, for example. You will need 3 basic ingredients for your pie crust. The first ingredient is all-purpose flour. Make sure it is all-purpose flour. If you start using bread flour or a different type of flour, it's going to just change the consistency of it. It may be difficult to work with, and it may not come out the way that you would like. You will also need butter. Make sure you get unsalted butter. If you get salted butter, it will change the flavor of the pie, and it may not be what you're looking for. You will also need cold water. The quantity that you'll need is probably maybe a quarter of a cup for a single pie or half cup for a double crust pie, but the amount will vary based on a whole lot of different things. So just make sure that you set some water aside, and you probably won't use it all. You might have to use a little more. That's okay. Some people choose to put salt in their pie crusts. I personally do not. I think it's perfectly fine without salt. If you would like to add a little bit of salt, you can. I put the quantities of the ingredients in the description below, and I got this recipe from allrecipes.com. That is linked in the description below. You will need just a few basic tools for making your pie crust. The first is a large mixing bowl. What you're looking for with that is that it's sturdy and that it's big enough for you to mix up your ingredients without getting flour all over the place. You will also need a rolling pin or a similar cylindrical object. You just want to make sure that if you improvise and use something like a wine bottle, it doesn't break and you don't hurt yourself. You also want to use a pie plate of some sort. You can get glass pie plates, ceramic pie plates, you can get metal pie plates. You can also get disposable foil pie plates. The glass or the ceramic probably work the best, and if you use ceramic, just make sure that you don't preheat the oven. You can also use a pastry blender. You don't need this, but it does really help. It makes it a lot easier. So if you're going to make a lot of pie crusts, I highly recommend buying one of these. They're between $5 and $15, and you can get them at a lot of grocery stores, or you can order them online. They're called a pastry blender. In addition to those, especially if you do not have a pastry blender, you will need either a fork and a wooden spatula, or you will need 2 table knives, and a sharp knife might be helpful, but you don't really need it.
I'm going to be making an apple pie with this pie crust. And the apple pie, it's a pie that's going to use 2 crusts. So I'm going to use the 2 crust recipe. So that right there, you shake it out a little bit, level it out. That's 2.5 cups or about 600 milliliters of flour. Alright, so I put the butter in there. And now the next step is going to be to cut the butter into the flour. So let me go ahead and show you how to do that. There's 3 different ways. The first way that I'm going to show you is the way that I learned to do this. This is the way that my grandmother does it. So you take your wooden spatula, you take your fork, and you have to have a pretty sturdy fork, and you just cut the butter into the flour like this. It takes a while. And especially if your butter is hard, like it should be, it takes a fair amount of muscle, and it's just a little bit annoying on the wrists. So you just keep doing that basically until the flour is cut in, or the butter is cut in, and the flour is in lumps that are about the size of peas or a little bit smaller. Okay. So the second method that a lot of people like is to take the two knives and just go through like this. Cut the butter into the flour like this. It works fairly well. And as you can see, it's already starting to get cut in. And then the final method, and this is the method that I really prefer, is just take your pastry blender and just go in like that. It really does not take very long at all to get the butter cut into the flour. You can also use a food processor. Put the butter and the flour into the food processor and hit the pulse button. It'll take about 3-5 seconds. You have your butter cut into the flour. But I really don't prefer that method just because I really do not enjoy cleaning the food processor out. Alright, so this is almost good right here. You just want it you want the flour and the butter to be pretty consistently mixed up. And like these little lumps that are maybe pea size, that's good. All right. So now the next step is to add a little bit of water. Okay, just a little bit. You don't want a lot. Don't add all the water. Okay, you're gonna start mixing it up. All right. Add a little bit more. Mix it up. Add a little bit more. You just want to do it. Add a little bit at a time. You can always add more water. You can't take water back out. All right. So what you're trying to get the dough to the point where you can form a ball. All right. When you can get a nice ball like this, still needs a little bit more water. But when you get a nice ball, then it's going to be done. Just a little bit more. There we are. Okay, the dough is really cleaning the sides off the bowl. It's looking like it'll be pretty good. All right. Just take it in your hands like that. And there you have your dough. Okay. If your dough is really sticky, you used too much water. If it's not holding together, then you don't have enough water. All right. And now the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take two bowls. I'm going to take my dough. I'm going to split it in half because I have two pie crusts. Remember, it's a 2 pie crust recipe, top and bottom. I'm going to just make a ball, put one in each. Cover them with plates. And then I'm going to put these in the fridge because with butter, you really have to put it in the fridge. If I tried to rule these out right now, it would be a mess. It'd be really difficult to do. Pie crust wouldn't turn out right because the butter is too soft and melty. So I want to put it back in the fridge, and I'll leave it there probably for half an hour or an hour. It depends. When it's nice and firm when I pull it out and when it's not at all sticky, I know that it's good. Okay, if you wanted to get it done faster, you can put it in the freezer. I put the pie dough in the fridge now. It's cooling off. The reason I did that is because with butter particularly, butter is very funny. You have to, it starts to melt as you work with it. It starts to get really soft. And especially since I've been here recording it, it's been sitting out for a little while and it's actually quite soft. So I have to put it in the fridge now that I have the dough together because it really has to firm up. And you will always have to put the butter-based dough into the fridge. Now I'm going to go ahead and roll out the pie dough. And this, you have to really be fast for this part. You have to be efficient because you don't want the dough to start to soften up. Right? The dough's probably been in the fridge for an hour, hour and a half. Right? And if I feel it's a pretty good consistency. It could be even firmer than this, but I think I should be able to roll that out just fine. So what you want to do is take some flour and put it on your rolling surface. Right? So I'm going to take my dough, put it there. All right, you want to make sure you have flour on your surface. That'll keep it from sticking to the rolling pin. Put some flour on top, and then you want to put some flour on your rolling pin, and you want to kind of rub the flour into the rolling pin. This is all to keep the dough from sticking to the rolling pin. Okay, so you just take it, roll it out, nice and easy. Flip it over, go the other way. Keep going until the dough is big enough to put onto the pie plate. You don't have to worry about making it exactly round. We'll deal with that later. Alright, so that looks like it'll be good. It looks like it'll fit just fine on the pie plate. So I'm going to go ahead and put the dough on the pie plate. So you just pick it up nice and easy. Be really, really gentle. Just drag it over and drape it over the plate. Like that. Okay. You could press it down. And don't worry about the stuff that's hanging off the side. We'll deal with that in a minute. So there's the bottom crust. Before you take the top crust out of the fridge, you're going to want to fill the pie. So I'm going to go ahead and put the filling in the pie. Today I'm making an apple pie. I will be back in a minute. Alright, so just do the same thing with the top crust as you did with the bottom crust. There we are. Flip it over. It's sticking a little bit to my surface here, so I'm going to put a little more flour on this side and a little more underneath. There you have it. There's your top crust. So gently, gently pick it up, drape it over the pie, just like that. And what you do next is you want to press down the sides. So take a fork and gently go around the edges of the pie plate. Just push down like that and go all the way around. Okay, you're not trying to poke holes in it. You're just trying to push the two pieces of dough together. Once you're done pressing the sides around, then you need to take your knife again, and you're going to want to cut some slits into the apple pie. And this is very, very important. Because if you don't do this, there's going to get steam that's going to build up inside, and you don't know how the steam's going to exit. It's probably going to make a mess. So if you put some slits in your apple pie, then the steam will have a place to exit. Now that you've done that, just take your knife around the edge, and you're just cutting off all that extra dough. Save the dough. I had some extra apples, so I'm going to use those extra apples. I'm going to use this dough to make some extra treats with the apples that are left over. There you have it. The pie is ready to go in the oven.
Thank you for watching. Please make sure that you subscribe and like this video, and let us know how your pie crust turned out in the comments. Make sure that you check out our apple pie video, and pretty soon, hopefully there'll be some more videos coming with some Thanksgiving pies, like pumpkin pie, sweet potato pie, etc.